Hey friends, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're well. This is Le Beau. This is a fragrance. When you combine the powers of those things together, you get Le Beau Flower Edition. That's right guys, I finally got my hands on the new Le Beau Flower Edition, of course from Jean Paul Gaultier, the newest in the Le Beau lineup. As of right now, no word on that Le Male Elixir Absolute, but as soon as that pops up for sale, I'll scoop up a bottle. And I actually ordered this one from Europe, so I paid a pretty penny when you consider shipping and everything else, but got it in. And I swear to you, like 2 days after I placed the order for this thing, Jean Paul Gaultier had it for sale on their website in the US. So, yeah. But I will say their US website, when you try to actually order things from it, kind of trash. I tried to order a bottle like 5 times, like 5 different days, and every single time it would error out. So you gotta fix that, JPG. But let's not talk about that. Let's not linger on that for too long, their busted website. For now, let's talk about this new scent. I'll have it linked in the description below where you can scoop it up, assuming that their website is working correctly now. And like always, guys, we're gonna take a look at this presentation here. I'm gonna let you know what I think about it and compare it to the other fragrances in the Le Beau line. And first up, a good look at the presentation. Now, the first thing I noticed with this is when I got this one in, it actually had a pull tab right down here that said, pull up or lift up. I think that's what it said. I think it said pull up, not pull down, but still the idea is the same. Which I find so funny because every other Le Beau or Le Male fragrance that I've ever purchased, unless I missed it, did not have that. And that means that there has been enough people who have purchased these fragrances and been like, how do I, can opener, I guess. And they just like rip the can open up at the top and they go, that's a weird way to do it. But apparently enough people have done that they now have a little sticker right here that says, hey, you actually open it like that. So that was kind of quirky, a little bit different. Anyway, let's take a look. So here is your Le Beau Flower Edition can. I think it actually has a really cool look to it. I like the color scheme and everything else. Mine did get a bit dented up, a little bit busted up in transit, but the bottle was completely fine. Nothing on top of the can. On the bottom, you have your barcode right there. My badge code 42501, and here is the bottle. So it's done up in that Le Beau bottle style, only this one has an overly large plastic flower that is essentially super glued onto the right side of his chest. It's a little bit different, kind of odd when you hold the bottle, but not a huge deal. And they have uncensored the bulge. On the bottom of the bottle, you have a little info etched into the glass along with your badge code. The color of the fragrance itself is a different shade than all the other Le Beau scents. A little bit lighter, more of a kind of teal color. And of course, has the little bitty pull tab so you don't accidentally spray your bottle. That being said, let's go ahead and spray the bottle. Here we go. Nice. So when this one was first announced, I was a little bit trepidatious, mainly because of that name, Flower Edition, because I wasn't exactly sure how they were going to integrate flowers in a huge way into the Le Beau scent profile and still have it smell like Le Beau. And I was wondering if that would work for a lot of people, if it was something that came out and was very floral forward, if it would be something that kind of ends up like a black sheep of the line. And also, the note breakdown is really simple. You have 3 notes here, kumquat off the top, which is pretty unique, and then in the mid, violet, and in the base, cashmere. At least that was the note breakdown when it was first announced. I believe since then it's been fleshed out a little bit with like additional citrus off the top, tonka and patchouli in the base, which makes it a little bit more interesting overall. So how does it smell? How does it compare to the other Le Beau fragrances? Is this one that's as good, or is this kind of an F up? Well, the first thing you'll notice when you spray this on your skin is that it is very fresh and also sweet. To me, it is ultra pleasant. It's zingy, like I said, fresh, sweet, lively, bright, like the faintest hint of a rindiness from a citrus in the background, not at the forefront of the fragrance. Just gives you like a little extra bit of depth. And then the way the citrus hits is almost like lightly woodsy as well. Again, more in the background, just this very light, semi-green woodsiness, but still very sweet, very fresh. When you compare it to something like Paradise Garden, it is nowhere near as tropical smelling. It's not as heavy It's not as thick with the sweetness. This is more like a very, like I said, lively, bright type of sweetness. The kumquat comes across very, very pleasant, has a light citrusy aspect to that as well. And when you compare it to Le Beau Le Parfum or the original Le Beau across this whole lineup, you'll realize pretty much immediately this one is the freshest of the whole bunch. Le Beau Le Parfum, much, much thicker, heavier, creamier, the way that the sweetness comes across. And honestly, the original Le Beau as well, it's got more of that creamy aspect also. You're not gonna get as much of that with Flower Edition. As it starts to dry down, you do get a floral aspect. That's gonna be the violet that comes out here, but it's more like this little bit of a green type of edge that it gives across. It's not like a heavy floral dose. So even though it's got flowers all in the front, it's named Flower Edition, you've got a plastic flower right here. It's not the type of fragrance that's gonna come across like really powdery. It's not gonna come across unisex. Instead, the violet comes across almost airy, slightly ozonic, still sweet, and a bit green. As you head into the dry down, the cashmeran stays more like a fizzy, kind of clean woodiness that still lingers in the background. And the more it goes, like an hour, 2-3 hours in, that cashmeran does become more prominent. By that point, most of the citrus has faded away. And as it dries down further, you get more tonka that starts to come out and kind of melt together with the cashmeran, but it's not gonna be as much as you're gonna find in any of these. So you get a hint of that creaminess, a little bit of that sweetness from the tonka coming through. Really, it's a sweet fragrance from open to dry down. And that tonka ties it in well with all of these. Like when you smell this, it does smell like a Le Beau fragrance. It just doesn't smell redundant to any of these, which is a good thing. And it's definitely, of the four, to me, the lightest on the tonka. It's there, just not as heavily dosed. So of the four, this is the freshest one. It still has good sweetness, just like these over here, but not overdosed to me. Now, some people will probably think so, especially off the top. It is a good dose of semi-sugary sweetness when you first spray it on, but it does everything really well. It's got a nice balance of freshness with the sweetness, which keeps it really appealing. It's extremely wearable, definitely a compliment puller type of fragrance, just like all these other ones here, frankly. And it's another one like Paradise Garden, Le Beau Le Parfum, and the original Le Beau that's really addictive. I have sprayed this fragrance on today like 4 separate times. Like sprayed it on, let it dry down, spray it on again, let it dry down, just over and over. So thankfully, it's not too floral. Even though it's named Flower Edition, it's not an overdose of florals or anything like that. And it does smell better off skin. It smells fine off a strip, smells good, but I will say off skin is where this really shines. So do be aware of that. If you're able to test this in a store, try to spray it on your skin. So if we were to rank these out in terms of when you would use which, I think this is best for summer. This one is gonna be better for spring. This is better for winter. And this one is kind of just whenever you want. Actually, Le Beau Le Parfum probably fall and winter. Definitely leans more as a daytime fragrance than a nighttime fragrance, which is probably not a really big surprise. So all of this sounds great, right? But there is one drawback. It's the performance. So of these four, easily off my skin, the weakest one is Flower Edition. Its projection is okay. It's good at first, like when you first spray the fragrance on and you have that really zingy, fresh, sweet opening, you know, it's projecting well. But then as it dries down, it starts to sit a bit closer to the skin. And in terms of longevity, it's the weakest of the bunch. So whereas, you know, Le Beau Le Parfum, I can get really good projection, great longevity, and the original Le Beau, solid as well. In Paradise Garden even, this one is lacking compared to the other three. Maybe to be expected to an extent with the lighter color scheme, the overall, you know, dialing back of that heavy, creamy aspect that some of these scents over here have. You know, the overdose of tonka, like rolling that in a little bit and replacing it more so with like a fizzy kind of fresh woodiness that, you know, lingers underneath everything and concentrating a little bit more there for the base. It's maybe not a big surprise that it's not quite as strong, but yeah, is what it is. And with how addictive this stuff is, you could be running through a bottle pretty quick potentially. Yeah, if the performance, you know, is not amazing, but the fragrance smells great and you just keep spraying it on, you can run through your bottle pretty fast. So yeah, Flower Edition, you break it down really simply, still has a bit of a tropical aspect to it, which is gonna tie it in with these. But that tropical aspect, instead of leaning more toward the creamy side of things, toward the like almost heavy, deep, sweet aspect, instead of going that path, it's going more fizzy, bright, airy, a little bit green with a very stripped down woodsiness underneath everything. Absolutely fantastic in terms of being magnetic, in terms of being compliment puller, a mass appealer. Absolutely 10 out of 10 there. But then you're gonna be sacrificing some performance while at the same time having a fragrance that's a little bit better suited for warm weather, daytime use. And I actually don't think it's too youthful either. I think younger guys easily can pull this off, but as that like sugary aspect from the opening starts to tone down a little bit, it becomes a fragrance that's just extremely versatile. Now, as I said, this one is sweet from opening into dry down, but really the pinnacle of the sweetness is the opening. After that, it kind of mellows out and it still has a very pleasant sweetness, just not overly aggressive. And I think that's really where this shines in terms of that versatility, that potential ease of use, because it's got a really super appealing opening that's going to grab attention, but then once it mellows down, it's not going to be diabetes inducing.
Diabetes.
And I would also say potentially that this one might be the easier one to wear compared to Paradise Garden. Now, I absolutely love Paradise Garden and the other two Le Beau fragrances for that matter, but this one right here might be the easiest one to wear, at least in terms of like spring, summer, early fall. Like this is a very easy grab, spray, and go scent. Now some people might say it's a little dumbed down or whatever, but I don't think so. I think it's just really that type of fragrance that you can leave sitting on your desk and just grab it whenever you want. Very nice. And in terms of my own personal hierarchy of these ones here, going into this, like when I first got it, my expectation was it would be, you know, down here somewhere. But honestly, kind of 6 half dozen. Summer, I'm probably taking this every time. Spring, kind of a toss up between these two. Maybe throw that one in there for good measure. But these two I've got like right here, hand in hand. So good. And then fall and winter is this one. So there it is, Flower Edition for me. Met expectations, maybe exceeded expectations, and a very, very welcome addition to the Le Beau lineup. So if you're a big fan of this line, absolutely check this out when you get the chance. Do be aware though, it is not as strong as any of the other three. So if you're looking for like a beastly fragrance, you're gonna be disappointed. If you want something that's almost like Le Beau Eau Fraiche, that is brighter with still that sweetness like I've talked about, and not Eau Fraiche in terms of like being ultra weak, just being fresh and a little bit weaker, then that's kind of what this is. I wanna thank you guys so much for hanging out with me here today. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.